But I'm going to tell you something. I determined in my heart that if he was man enough to preach it, I was going to be Christian enough to live it. Amen. And I determined that no matter what my family did, amen, and I had family here in the church that walked away, that they could walk away all they wanted to, but I was going to stay here and back the man of God up. Amen. And stay with him. Amen. That's exactly right. Lastly, in closing, I want to honor Brother Paul for the care in his ministry. In 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse number 28, I want you to notice what the Apostle Paul wrote. He said, beside those things that are without, that which cometh upon me daily, the care of all the churches. And I'm going to tell you something. Paul felt like his physical conditions was not as burdensome as the burden and care he had for the church. Yeah, right. Think about all the things they did to the Apostle Paul. He said, for our light affliction, which is but for a moment. Paul considered the things that happened to him a light affliction. But look at the burden and the care that he had for the churches. That burden was greater than any physical problem that he ever had, any persecution that he ever faced. The burden of the churches and the care of the churches was upon him, and it was far more burdensome than any physical or persecution he had ever faced. I believe Brother Paul cares for the West Side Baptist Church. He cares for Piedmont too, don't you, Brother Paul? Thank you. Amen. He's shown the care of this church by being here when you needed him. You know, this is something I thought about yesterday, and I wrote this down. Sometimes, every once in a while, God will give me a good thought. And I thought, Brother Alton, pastors are expected to love those that hate them. You hear that? Pastors are expected to love those that hate them, speak peaceably to those that curse them, and pray for them that persecute them and use them spitefully. Amen? That's exactly right. That's what a pastor is expected to do. A pastor's got a bullseye on his back. A bullseye is something you shoot at. A pastor is constantly being shot at by the world, and even sometimes shot at by some church members. I've always heard this, the visit that the pastor is remembered for is the one that he didn't make. Not the many other times they were there, but the one they didn't make. I'm going to tell you something. When I was a member of the West Side Baptist Church,